Plus experience winner.
Welcome back. Y'all just got to look at Liquid Plus, a superfan experience for die-hard fans of the Team Liquid squad. You can earn points for following all of the Liquid content your heart desires, and you can also earn some Liquid swag, coaching, and much, much more. That launches on the 27th, so make sure you sign up soon. But right now, we got to see if the Team Liquid boys can make this a swift 2-0 against FlyQuest, or if FlyQuest can bring it back and give us a 3-game series here today. Crumbs, how you feeling about the outlook of things here in game number 2 after what we saw in the first one?
I'm feeling great, Flowers. I'm vibing. Team Liquid's vibing. Clearly, the fans are feeling it too with the super pack as well. So I think that they got a really strong combo. I love the stats from the desk. Azale brought up, what was it? 20 plus something games, 80+% win rate on the Taliyah-Leona combo. So had FlyQuest known that, I don't know if they would have let the Taliyah go through, because you know that Core JJ is going to take those Leona picks and find those synergies with the jungler every single time. It's what they do. It's how you roam.
I'm really curious what changes about the draft this time around, because Taliyah is so strong. Core JJ on an engage is so strong. Tactical, when he has allies to set him up to go in on the Samira, is so strong. I think of those three, they're all deserving to be potentially banned at some point. The solo lanes didn't seem to be an exceptional problem for the Team Liquid solo lanes, didn't seem to be an exceptional problem here for the side of FlyQuest. They both did just fine, but it didn't seem like that was the thing that was breaking the game. Alfari, of course, having a good showing there on the Kennen. After that gank where Jose Dioto and Licorice went in, they went underneath the turret, and Alfari just outplayed, man. He was looking like there was nothing past that point that was going to throw him off of his groove. The man was having a great time on that champion as well. The Summoner Spellbook did so much to give him an edge in those fights that he was taking up there. Team Liquid just looked clean all around. If we ignore some of the goofy stuff in the mid game, just going to scrub that from my brain with a sponge. But when they were on, and FlyQuest has to figure out a way to break it.
They have to. And I think they can still start from the laning phase, though, because I didn't hate the draft at all. I just felt like it had a significantly higher burden of execution for themselves. The Aurelia has to outplay the lane against the Kennen. The Lucian has to outplay against Yone. We heard from High how that matchup is supposed to go. We saw with the Ignite what they were trying to do. Falling behind a little bit just got so much worse. The gank in the top one that you brought up, the roam into the mid lane, really put those two behind. And from that point, they never really got back. So I don't mind if they go with another high risk kind of composition here and let Team Liquid get some of the power picks, not that much, gets whatever they want, but still putting the burden of responsibility on yourself is not a bad thing, especially for a team that's been around for just a few days. They don't have that much practice, so it's only the lock-in tournament, and if they can just get maybe a win here, that's already a huge accomplishment for the lock-in tournament.
So you're fine with seeing them go for another one of these high execution compositions, seeing if they can just sort of roll the dice. It goes back to what you were talking about in game number 1, about how since we're starting off with lock-in tournament, it doesn't affect the standings for the regular split. Teams are more confident in doing more of those scrim meta type of decisions, not just going for the tried and true and what they already know, but taking those risks. And I think on the long term, it will make the teams overall better as they experiment with these different things and figure out what really fits them as a team for their style.
Exactly. The players need to be familiar with that kind of aggression on stage. And so the lock-in gives you that familiarity of, oh, I remember when I felt very loose and I was vibing and doing all sorts of these plays and they actually worked out. So then when you go into the tournaments that are high pressure, that really matter, where they have to find a play, they realize, oh, I actually know how we need to play to start turning the game more chaotic, to accelerate the pace if we need to. So the lessons here should be lessons in confidence for the spring and summer seasons.
Well, Team Liquid having Tactical and Core JJ down there. We got to see the level 1 2v2 last game that they just immediately dive in with Samira and Leona. Both of these champions being able to learn their dash ability at level 1 to just get in there and go hard. I'm curious if FlyQuest is going to allow them to do it again. I'm fully expecting them to be more prepared for it this time. You said you expected them to be prepared for it last time, and they still got caught in a bit of an unlucky spot. Didn't die early on, did not die at level 1, but losing that much HP on their carry in the bottom lane was not the best thing. But still, I want to give credit to FlyQuest's bottom lane for being able to recover after that level 1 unfortunate incident getting jumped on there by the power of Leona and Samira, because it was the Seraphine that was the saving grace of this squad. Without that, I feel like if that Seraphine was anything else, that game's an FF20.
Yeah. And you give Team Liquid credit, yet the place that I think FlyQuest should look at is where the game really felt like it snowballed. Before the first blood, when CoreJJ and Tactical got that all in into the bottom lane, now they have so much pressure in that lane. They transitioned that with the jungler to just get double controls, connecting mid to bottom, and that's how they got the kill onto the Maokai, then the kills into the mid lane, then they denied the jungle camps, then they control the blue side jungle and snowballed from there. So that moment where Team Liquid took advantage of the fog of war and you didn't know where the junglers and supports were, that's where FlyQuest needs to watch out for, because that's what Team Liquid used to snowball the game into the proportions that we saw last game.
All right, here's the draft for game number 2. It's Twisted Fate, Camille, Aphelios, Olaf, Taliyah, and Pantheon all band away. FlyQuest's first pick is the Kai'Sa, and they lock it in pretty fast. I'm really liking this champion lately. Really works well with dive composition. Super powerful. S-tier marksman. The response from Team Liquid, they're going to pick up Nidalee in the jungle for Santorin, going with the other one of those AP junglers that has that skill shot where if you have the CC to set it up, you're just guaranteeing yourself the kill. And they're putting Tactical back on the Samira here immediately, going up against the Kai'Sa with it.
Nice, and we got a dive comp out of FlyQuest. Follow up for the Hecarim. Now, how much are they going to index on the support? We don't know just yet, but we got 3 champions that can follow up on crowd control or set themselves up very nicely. So a very different change of pace. It's a better draft, I think, for a blue side to be able to prioritize just a solid team fight composition. And on red, when you do have those access to counter picks, you can get away with those Lucians into Yones or Irelias into the Kennons. Instead, it is going to be Akali, another dive buddy. Very exciting to see her paired with the Hecarim. But what will Jensen do in the laning phase against this? We've heard from Palafox, hey, if I get my hands on Akali, I'm going to carry the game. Well, this is it. Can you carry against the game? Can you carry a game against the likes of Team Liquid? Get past the laning phase, because he had a fine lane against Jensen for the little bit, but then in the side lanes, the Kennen and Yone just took over.
So this composition from FlyQuest is reminding me a lot of what we saw yesterday from Cloud9 in their series against TSM, always just going full send on the dive, everybody just jumping in there in a dog pile. So Team Liquid has the responsibility of finding a way to separate that dive, make it so they can't all move in as one decisive unit, and immediately end the team fight before it ever begins. They're picking up the Renekton there for Alphari in the top lane. And now the second part of the bans are going to be rolling in here. The Gnar band away, that one we have seen as a pick in response to the Renekton before, so they want to keep that out. Also a good champion that as long as he's got the Gnar bar, he fits well into the dive profile of FlyQuest, so taking that one out of the picture. Galio is also banned away. It's a champion that can work well in the dive comp with FlyQuest, but they don't want to give Team Liquid the opportunity to take it because it also shuts down dive very effectively, and it is TL that has next pick coming out of the ban phase. So let's see how they choose to do the last couple of bans here.
I'm surprised with that Gnar pick personally, because on red side, when you've got the Renekton and the Nidalee, you can't just dive him constantly on mini Gnar. He is fodder. So I'm thinking right away, if you're not looking to play the Renekton Nidalee combo into whatever, and you're banning out the Gnar, you might be thinking of going to the bottom lane again, just pairing Santorin with CoreJJ, because Renekton can be fine just left to his own devices as a top laner that you want to just have some strong priority with, a physical damage, point and click CC, nothing like a Kennen, and it just makes it easier for your composition to have more magic damage. So I'm thinking the Nidalee Renekton might not be the combo, and instead we're going to see the Rel Samira, the newest bot lane addition to Summoner's Rift, and this is a pick that CoreJJ, the likes of Team Liquid, they think this is quite overpowered, quite good, this pick. So if you put in the work on it, you'll learn very quickly she just might be OP.
I like the bans that each team used as their last ban here. TL continuing to target the champions that are super good at diving. Alistar, one of the best in the game at that. And FlyQuest responding by getting rid of that Leona that CoreJJ played so well in game number 1. The Rel locked in, as you said. The response to the Rel is the Janna. So remember that when Rel goes in, it's sort of a slow animation where she jumps in the air and you see the mark on the ground and it's here she comes. And Janna can interrupt that with a tornado to stop Rel's disengage and make it easier for the Kai'Sa to stay alive and not get caught out. I actually like this a lot from FlyQuest in the bottom lane. I am by no means an expert on bottom lane 2v2s, but in theory, based on how Janna does against other engaged supports like Leona with using her tornado, I'm a fan.
Normally, I would have questioned the Janna because it didn't fit the identity of what the other champions were trying to do. Kai'Sa wants to go in, Hecarim the same thing with the Akali, Janna not so much. But when you have a Gragas in the top lane, who is a huge pick for FlyQuest, a triple flex availability, you actually now can engage and disengage at the same time. So they are putting a lot of emphasis on their ability to play these fights out properly with their big engage and disengage tools. So there can be some big flops on the side of FlyQuest, but at the same time, if they can time these well, whether it's casks and monsoons, the team fights can be so spread out that it'll be hard to keep up with what's going on. So when Team Liquid lock in the Orianna, they just say, we don't know what the heck FlyQuest is going to throw at us, so we're just going to go with the safest, easiest, no more Yoni. Let's just play this standard because they're already thinking about something that we haven't played against before.
And we've seen Orianna shockwaves turn around fights, turn around games, literally define a match of League of Legends so many times in the past. I like the use of this here because it means if FlyQuest all dog piles in and don't immediately find a kill and win the fight outright, Jensen will always have an opportunity to turn it right back around with a multi-man shockwave. So I'm glad to see the Orianna picked up here in this situation. I looked it up specifically because Rel's still a very new champion, so I don't have all of the information down off the top of my head just yet. When Rel leaps in with her W to go for the stun, it is a 1.5 second travel time. Even if you're not paying attention, if you are clicking abilities with Janna, like putting your mouse over the icon and going click, click, you will be able to stop that with a tornado before it hits the ground.
I'm going to tell you some
very easy interrupt.
If you cannot stop a 1.5 second charged ability consistently after playing League for a while, maybe not the game for you. 1.5 seconds is a lot of time to see an ability. That's a lot of time.
That is a long
Just
time.
saying, man. That's a lot of time. It's not a Malphite. I could see, like, even that you can flash out, right? Most players, ADs, learn to flash that one. Come on. 1.5 seconds? I want to see the Janna pull it off.
Well, we'll see how that bottom lane 2v2 plays out between these guys. I am excited for the FlyQuest composition. You mentioned earlier how you were okay with seeing FlyQuest do another difficult to execute composition again. I'm on the opposite side of the table, especially when you see a team going into a matchup that they're very clearly not the favorites in, and when they only just recently got the whole roster together. I'm a bigger fan of ease of execution, and I think a dive composition is just one of the classics in League of Legends where you don't have any of those questions you got to be asking yourself. None of that difficult thinking type of gameplay. You just throw all your dudes in there and hope when the dust settles, you've got more guys left alive. But we got Team Liquid going for a level 1 invade here.
Yeah, and FlyQuest doesn't know that Rel is here, but they should know that she can do that and up to her tricks. So because they don't know what CoreJJ just did, you actually could see the same all-in from the bottom lane with CoreJJ's leap, tactical, leveling his own leap, and then all-inning level 1 and seeing if they can actually get an advantage that way. I want to see if Johnson and Diamond can actually anticipate that that could be a possibility for the Team Liquid bottom lane. They should know, though, that because an invade happened, something in the red side is likely warded. Assume always that the red buff is the point that is going to be warded, and unfortunately on the side of FlyQuest, they didn't actually get a deep ward for Team Liquid, so they don't really know where their jungler is starting. Whereas Team Liquid, very well aware that Jose Diodo is on the top side.
Yeah, they'll see that red buff is not drawn any aggro whatsoever. Jose Diodo also starting at blue. Makes sense for Hecarim. Loves to spam those abilities in the jungle. So if you want to do a full clear from one side of the jungle to the other, it is plenty easy when you've got the blue buff and you can just spam every ability nonstop no matter what. So we'll see if Jose can get anything done in this bottom lane. Also starting from top to bottom side clear for Jose Diodo means that if Team Liquid is playing aggressive in that bottom lane with the Samira-Rel combo like you would expect them to play, Jose might be able to find an early punish down there after he clears through his own jungle. Back up here on the top side, it was Alfari who did better in this 1v1 in the previous game. Now here on that Renekton, we'll see if he can continue against Licorice's Gragas. Now this Gragas is taking the Grasp of the Undying, and that is typically indicative of the tankier style of build as opposed to the AP heavy one. So I'm expecting Licorice to just go for some armor here, probably starting off with a Sunfire or at least something in the Bomby Cinder line, and then just saying, you know what, I'm the meatball, I'm the front line. He doesn't need to be blowing anybody up from 100 to 0.
That is if he can get past the laning phase, because Centauran path from bottom to top right now, and the way that Alfari is playing this lane makes me think that they are thinking about going for a tower dive. You know Jose would be in the bottom side, So it really would not be answered by anything more than a teleport from the Akali. So there is an option to combo with the Renekton here, who's already done a nice job warding the top lane scuttle, so that you know if the Hecarim is up there. It makes it so much easier for Nidalee to try to path down here, and he keeps pushing this lane, and if he can crash this one with the side of Nidalee, you actually can dive this Gragas at this health. Let's see if they actually pull this off. Licorice suspects it, and that's why he has a ward on the back, but here we go. Can Gragas survive this?
I like the fact that Licorice used his potion even though he was still above half HP because he knew this was coming. And now it's up to Team Liquid to work together in the 2v2 and get the kill. It's first blood over to Alphari. He tries to get away. Santorin even flashed close to him to try to heal him, I believe. But it was not in time. It's a 1-for-1 here in the top lane. First blood plus assist goes over to TL. The minion wave is crashing into the turret, so it is advantage for Liquid on that one. Down here in bottom, the 2v2 occurred while we were watching the dive in top lane. Looks like we got the exhaust out of Diamond and 2 summoner spells out of Kai'Sa, while we got only the ignite and flash from CoreJJ.
So I think the move that Licorice did that really saved him was he chugged his Drunken Rage right before the combo came, and Team Liquid did not wait to use their spells. They went through the damage reduction so that Gragas was able to survive, got the slam off, and it was very close to actually getting just a clean kill, but a good move by Licorice, knowing that, hey, this is the best chance I have to actually live through this, is if I heave my damage reduction.
Jose Diodo here in the bottom lane just sweeps out a ward and clears it away. Diamond's Tornado just came up a bit shy to find the mark. Let's take another look, though, at how this first blood occurred in top lane.
So Santorin, good job there, holding the wave. And then you see, right, goes for the chug, but then instantly starts taking the damage. He is already with damage reduction. So I think maybe we could think, should Team Liquid have waited for the damage reduction to fade, have Nidalee do the aggro? There's many ways to go about it, but it was very close, and that just happened to be the thing that made the difference when we look at the replay afterwards.
Team Liquid will still maintain a lead here for themselves in this game, despite the fact that it's tied 1-1. You can see the farm in the bottom there, favoring Jensen in the mid lane and Alphari in the top. So the Team Liquid solo laners prevailing here nice and early, but it's only 5 minutes into the game. FlyQuest is still fine with the current state of things. Jose Diodo continuing to farm up here, does have a farm lead over the enemy Nidalee. And Nidalee is one of those champions that it always feels good when you're out farming her because it's such a difficult task to be charged with. The champion farms incredibly quickly, so Jose Diodo just making sure that he's staying ahead of the curve here, going back to the base, picking up the Sheen and the boots and the longsword. That is a very well-equipped horse for not even 6 minutes into the game, as Palafox arrives back into mid and immediately starts going for the 1v1 kill on Jensen. Ulti's used here from both mid laners. Palafox using the R2 to get back to a more defensive position, knows he doesn't have kill pressure on Jensen, he doesn't have Ignite, he has the TP, so that's just ulti for ulti.
Cheeky there for out of Palafox, as he gets the shove on the wave, and with Jensen not having TP, he might actually get to group up with his support and do something in this lane. And in the meantime, Jose is not level 6, though, very close to it. And you see that I think they're anticipating that Renekton is going to go for another dive with the Nidalee. There's no deep vision anywhere else, but in the meantime, Team Liquid maybe thinking about a dive?
No Janna to stop the damage in the CC on that one. CoreJJ stays alive. Tactical 2. Diamond firing out the tornado, but it just doesn't hit him. And Team Liquid, they see the opening and they go for it to grab their second kill.
They can go for more. Is he going to go for Diamond as well? He just has to back up. The sad B. Gonna even lose the control ward there. He knows that Team Liquid just dominates his bottom lane 2 games in a row. It belongs to them.
Alphari and Licorice still up in this 1v1 life. Alphari jumps right back into the cask. He doesn't even care about that. He just wants to continue trading aggressively on his opponent here. Another Q at the back end to heal up a bit further. Alphari continuing the chase, but when the big man takes a swig, it means the kill pressure ain't there anymore.
Man, and FlyQuest is just straight scarred, because if Jose Diodo would have been able to actually just go for his regular farm route instead of having to shadow for Licorice on the case of a dive, he would have been there in the bottom lane, level 6 for a free double kill, because Krugs were the camp that was most up for him at that time. So it's the pressure that Team Liquid put in the top that then says, Licorice, oh, maybe we need more help here to prevent this from happening. It's a story all too common, and here we go. This Kai'Sa has no flash, and CoreJJ is right there.
Well, the tornado was not interrupting much of anything. The Ferromancy stuns Diamond, but Tactical's eating a lot of damage from Johnson. Team Liquid without proper focus here might end up losing their AD carry. Alfari tries to go in, but Diamond gets the kill and stays alive. Team Liquid going in too hard. Diamond with 100 HP. Johnson still barely kept alive too. Tactical stays alive with his heal. And what looked like could have been an amazing outplay for FlyQuest turns into a 1-for-1 here in the bottom lane.
I still think it's a huge play for FlyQuest. Look at what's happened on the top side of the map. Jose Dioro gets a counter jungle, Gragas crashes the wave and gets a reset, and then Akali does the same. She's now caught up with CS into the Orianna. So that 1-for-1 trade is huge. Team Liquid committed so many members for it. If they can even get this Rift Herald, get some vision down here and transition this into another play before Team Liquid makes their own, FlyQuest, I think, can really start to claw back into this game before it's too late and it slips away from them. This is a big move out of them. Team Liquid committed 5 members for that. 5 for 2. That's such an overload, an overkill. Like, what? 5 for 2? You usually just need 1 more.
All right, let's take another look here because there were some very low health bars over the course of this.
Yeah, so it didn't start as a 5 for 2. It was a 3 for 2, but you had Nidalee in the area and Orianna coming down, and they just didn't realize, hey, we didn't even crash the wave, right? The wave isn't crashed. Alfari TP'ing here and tanking turrets to even make it into the back of FlyQuest. So definitely some limit testing, I'm going to say, just like Hai was calling it, how everyone's been seeing it, but at the end of the day, Team Liquid is still the ones making the plays. They are the ones asserting themselves onto Summoner's Rift, and FlyQuest responding.
I feel like both Diamond and Tactical survived with under 20 HP at different points in that fight. I can't be for certain. I did not see the actual health bar numbers, but it was just the most microscopic bit of the health bar here as Alfari is trying to trade with Licorice. But the effectiveness of the Gragas here, you can see in the inventory, Bomby Cinder working towards that first tank item, also has the Bramble Vest so that when Renekton dashes in and stuns him and tries to follow up with some healing, he doesn't get as much as he otherwise would have. And Alfari with a very early Mercury Treads just wants to make sure he has a move speed advantage, building up some extra magic resistance there as well, never hurt anybody. As you can see, Jose Dioro here in the bottom lane on top of a ward that he may or may not be aware of, but he can't do anything about it here right now. Has the Rift Herald instead of a sweeper, so he cannot remove that vision.
Mercury Treads are really useful against the Gragas. If you ever think about all-inning him, he always says no. You get denied with his body slam, because even if he body slams away from you, if he's actually close enough to you, you're going to get stunned and displaced as well. So this just helps you a lot to be able to do what he's been doing all lane long, which is use all the spells, spamming it onto the wave. And it just happens to be that Gragas right now, with the itemization and his passive, is just an unmovable object in the top lane. He's healing percent HP every single time he uses abilities, has Grasp on top of it, and is just a really beefy boy building defenses. So there's no way they're looking back into the top lane, which is why Centaurion and CoreJ have now teamed up, and they have foregone the Renekton Nidalee synergy of the early game.
Tactical continuing to just play aggro here. Even though he's alone in the bottom lane, he knows that FlyQuest is aware of how much their bottom lane could be targeted. And so he knows that they won't jump on him even if it looks like a 2v1 because they're thinking that Team Liquid is one step ahead of them. And CoreJJ is back in the lane now. Jose Dioro once again paying a visit to the bottom lane. Wants to go for the play, for the dive, for the onslaught of shadows. Tactical's running out. Jose Dioro still on the chase here, and it's CoreJJ who has to use the Ferromancy trying to get himself out. Santorin joins the fight, dropping the heal on Core. Licorice has arrived over the wall. He goes with some damage onto the enemy jungler, and FlyQuest is making some plays today. Santorin lives just barely, but he and Tactical are in for a rude awakening. This is a 5v2 dive. It is a 1-for-1 there as Tactical's trying to turn it right back around. He grabs 2. Samira gets herself some kills, and it's an even trade. 2 for 2 here in the bottom lane on that fight.
It's a deja vu. It's kind of like the same play that Team Liquid made, committing so many members to the play before knowing if they will even have the damage to pull it off. Palafox is just doing the same thing we saw earlier, but that in the bottom lane was just so close. The Hecarim is the only ultimate, and this is why the Janna Hecarim synergy is so weird. He was the only one to engage. We heard in the interview from the last series, Ignar saying that the most important things in the bottom lane right now, CC. What CC did Janna use to help this play, to set this up? Hint, none. There was none. It's Janna. She shielded someone.
Well, the bottom lane fight, even though the dive was a 2 for 2, the overall play was a 3 for 2 for FlyQuest because they got CoreJJ there at the start. He had respawned by the end of that one. So this brings FlyQuest back to a point in this game where the gold is pretty close. They got the first turret. They got all the bonus plate money on it, so that'll help them a ton. But here's the problem.
Oh, he slammed.
Crumbs, hold on. We don't have time to talk about those problems because right now Licorice has some more problems.
Whoa!
What? Oh, no, you hate to see it. Santorin misses the spear, but Johnson's joined the fight. Johnson ends up baiting his own ally into a bad situation and getting him killed. Alfari with the flash forward. That spear is going to find the mark. Alfari still keeping himself alive as Palafox wants to clean these guys up. He lands the E, and the follow-up damage should be plenty. Santorin backing away, but with a TP showing up from Jensen, Palafox will not be able to pursue the second kill here. What a wild and strange series of events here in the top lane.
Yeah, that would not have happened if it was for the spear landing, but now CoreJJ.
It's Metal Horse versus Metal Horse, and Jose Diodo is heavy metal, baby, getting the kill on CoreJJ in the mid lane.
Oh, horse-on-horse violence. Rarely do we see that in Summoner's Rift. That top lane play, Foul Hours, Janna actually arrives to the scene and can't do anything. Whoa, Palafox. Okay.
Okay, Palafox getting a little bit thirsty for the kills here in top lane. Jensen trying to chase him down.
Flash.
Alfari's here from the TP. I don't think they're going to get anything. All right, cool.
Whew, all right. We got a 1 kill a minute. This is a very different pace for the last one because
this is a wild game.
FlyQuest is fighting. They're fighting back.
What a crazy game of League of Legends we got ourselves here, Crumbs. It's still a 1,500 gold lead for TL. And here's the point I was going to make before that whole thing happened up in top lane.
Oh, no.
Never mind. We got a replay now. Let's take another look at the same thing up in top lane.
Oh, this is just... Santorin is the last player I would have ever thought to see this from. But they actually still have enough damage because they body blocked the Gragas and buy just enough time for the team to get there. Watch what happens when the Janna arrives, because you'd think that they should be able to turn this, right? You think of all the other supports that are played right now, these Alistars, Nautiluses, Leonas, Rels. But she gets her and just tornadoes people away, and now we're back to a dragon fight that Licorice is stuck in one man. Where is he?
Stops.
Where is he there?
Licorice is dead. Team Liquid has control over the bottom side river. They are going to grab themselves a Drake here. With the kill on the enemy top laner, they know there's no contest for this one, so Team Liquid's going up 2-0 in that respect. Now we got another fight here in the top side of the map as Alfari is using the Dominus to go for a kill on Johnson, but the Scuttle Crab is smited. FlyQuest has bodies nearby. Rift Herald is now just leashed for Team Liquid, and they will end up taking both neutral objectives across Summoner's Rift within a couple of moments of each other.
I think if you quote Kadriel here, that was the side lane police that caught Licorice, because he's just out there by himself just thinking, oh, I'm fine. My team's going for the Herald. Team Liquid's team should be going for fighting that as well. But instead, he extends a little bit too soon, dies for it, and then Team Liquid also gets to run to the Herald and get that as well. So they get so much out of that one. Unfortunately, FlyQuest was just catching waves, nothing else to do for them. They couldn't take a fight. Gragas is way too important for them, and Jose Diodo is not strong enough to just run in there and survive. That's a 5-1 Samira at the moment.
Yeah, the Samira has real carry potential this game. I'm going to say it before I get interrupted by another replay or another fight, Team Liquid's farming better. That's why the gold is different. That's why it's a 1.5 to 2,000 gold lead. Look at the farm in every role, except for mid lane now. Palafox has caught up and surpassed Jensen. But top side, 40 CS gap. Jungle is even. Jose Diodo's going for the dive here in mid lane. Not going to find a whole lot. Jensen whiffs the shockwave too. So an ult from an ulti here, but the fight's not done just yet. Tactical's a little bit far forward. Dashes away to CoreJJ. CoreJJ always making sure he's within range for Tactical to use that dash to get out, and FlyQuest will not find a playmaking opportunity here.
Okay, so I really won't mind that play out of Jose Diodo because you know that Jensen had flash and would get out if you can punish him before this next dragon fight. FlyQuest should definitely be strong enough to take this fight now. If you can get onto the Orianna before the fight and kill her before her spell's gone, you actually got a ton of value from this initial play. You're going to lose this. It's going to be tough to get the vision in for the dragon setup, but you actually have a target. You have somebody that you can go after to win the fight from the side of FlyQuest. If they can pull that off, then you actually have a good chance, but they're getting though.
Oh, baby, look at the damage coming in from Team Liquid underneath the Tier 2 turret. Sayonara Johnson. They get the objective. They get the kill. Alfari's keeping Licorice occupied down there in the bottom side of the jungle, too. And it's not like they can even go for anything after the fact. The neutral objectives are off the map, Crumbs.
That rel engage is just so filthy there from the side. And Santorin, he's not by himself though. Jose doesn't have Ghost, but he's just really fast. So Team Liquid won't steal the Grump. They'll be happy with just the turrets and the kills and getting that reset. But we see just how quick they are to engage. No hesitation. The second the wave crashes, just go in every single time. That's been the MO for their fights nonstop. They're trying to catch Santorin, who they know doesn't have flash, but who can actually follow up on this play?
I mean, it's Italy. He's going to run away from the direction of the teleport and hop a couple of times in there. You're not going to catch him. So FlyQuest try to go for a punish that doesn't work out too well here. Jose Diodo escaping as Alfari moves in, but now they're turning it right back around. Alfari's caught in the middle of 4. He heals himself right back up. Jensen's ulti again. Not going to find a whole lot here, but Licorice is down to 1/4. Team Liquid bringing in the cavalry. Core JJ has arrived, and Jose Diodo is down. Licorice retreating with the rest of FlyQuest as Team Liquid find themselves 1 kill and are on the hunt for even more. Still, nothing to take after the fact. There is no Drake, there is no Baron. TL get the kill and nothing more.
You know, you say Alfari's caught in the middle of 4 FlyQuest members. I think he was healing. I think he was healing with his ultimate and his Q. I didn't really see much damage because without Johnson there, no one's really focusing him down. There's not enough DPS to actually crack through this Renekton without the AD. So you see what Team Liquid's plan was when they dope him. Just eliminate the AD, and then the rest are just burst champions. If you can survive that burst through your shields, through your tankiness and healing, which has been the itemization for multiple members. You've got the shield bow, you've got the Sterex gauge, and the Gore Drinker out of Renekton. You even now have Zhonya's on the side of Nidalee. So this assassin kind of bursty style that Hecarim and Akali are trying to do is not working. So they have to rely on Johnson. But Team Liquid has already been focusing him. So he needs so much help to be able to deal with what Team Liquid's throwing at him. And a lot of farm would be a good place to start because he's just even with tactical right now.
And comparing this to the series yesterday with Cloud9 and TSM, going into Champion Select here in Game 2, I said, all right, FlyQuest composition reminds me a lot of what we saw from Cloud9, so that means Team Liquid's going to have to find an answer for it, and we saw TSM struggle to find that in yesterday's games. But this itemization from TL, the champions that they drafted excelling when they build these kinds of items, means that FlyQuest's job is so difficult to get this dive to work in a coherent and cohesive way. Team Liquid continuing to press forward down here. It's Palafox versus Tactical in mid lane. Palafox is jumping in. Akali versus an AD carry. Normally not going to be a very fair matchup, but it is Samira, so let's see where it goes. Tactical going right back in. Spin to win, but it will not win today. Palafox with a 1v1 victory as the 4v4 is breaking out at the same time here in the bottom side river. Alfari back up to almost full HP there with the Gore Drinker and Sterak's shield, buying time as the rest of FlyQuest is trying to make way for their mid laner to enter into the fight here with the TP. Licorice goes in, Licorice goes down. Jensen grabbing the killing spree as Jose Diodo is at half health. Alfari going to be targeted next as Jensen gets away to the side. Palafox looking to chase after him. Stuns coming through, damage coming out. Palafox retreating back towards the bottom lane. Over the wall goes Santorin and Team Liquid, despite the fact that they're 4v5 here in this fight, outfight their opponents, and they'll take the Drake.
FlyQuest messed up the engage. They were not synchronized. Licorice went in by himself, then Jose Diodo was alone, and they didn't wait for Palafox to get that TP. They should have been way more patient there. You had all the time in the world. Samira was dead, doesn't have teleport, she's never making it back in. The fact that Team Liquid wins that is just incredible for them. It puts them at soul point. It accelerates them really far up, and it really should not have been that Flowers. It's Tactical that is limit testing already 2 games in a row. It was really close, frankly. I felt like he was going to win it, but he can afford to go down, not trade a kill, and his team will still win the fight. I mean, if that doesn't tell you the strength of Team Liquid, I don't know what does.
All right, let's take another look at how close this fight was between the Samira and Akali.
Right, popping everything, and then it's the ultimate that then the flash forward looks so good. Q auto attack. That was it.
Tactical may have been able to win that if he just maintained enough distance to not get auto attacked right there at the very end. But shoulda, woulda, coulda, we won't ever know for sure. I won't pretend like I know the exact damage thresholds of Samira or Akali because neither of those champions is a Scorpion. But then once it comes in here, it's what you're talking about, Crumbs. Licorice is going in with the flash engage, and the rest of the team is not in the position for the immediate follow-up.
And they had used the ultimate earlier to disengage as well, so I'm not sure where the lack of confidence felt in the in surviving the engage from Team Liquid, because you also have a Janna. We haven't even seen a Monsoon be used this game thus far, and that definitely will protect you from what Team Liquid is trying to do. Here we go, trying to catch Core JJ, who re-engages.
Core JJ is fearless. Another shockwave not finding the mark. Johnson goes over the wall chasing after Core JJ, but Alfari's arrived to keep him alive. Santorin now going to be jumped on by Palafox there in the smoke, keeping himself going. Alfari takes the kill on the enemy AD carry, and now Tactical's kept alive by his own immortal shield bow. Spinning around in the middle of everybody, 1v3. The man's able to find some damage before he falls over. Palafox grabbing a double kill. Diamond runs out, and it's a double over to Alfari as well. Palafox wants to get anything and everything he can in the back of this fight. He knows he has to be the carry here, but up against that Gator, it is not happening today, my friends. Triple kill for Alfari. Diamond is on the run. That bee cannot stop crying today. Somebody get the man some tissues.
You cannot catch Core JJ. Core JJ always catches you. That's the joke. You're always getting caught. He turns it instantly with the 3-man ultimate, flashing in, and even gets out alive. They use the cask thinking, oh yeah, we've separated the Rel, but as we get more and more familiar with what Rel is as a champion, that starts to look more and more like you threw a cask at an Alistar and put them right next into your team. So let's see how it started. Licorice no longer has the cooldown lowered of his slam, and then gets 3 people on that ultimate. FlyQuest uses so much to disengage there, and the big one there was Johnson flashing over the wall, because he used his ultimate to reposition and then thought, oh, I could just flash over, kill Core JJ, regroup with the team. Nobody knew that Alfari was teleporting in at the same time that Core JJ turned on the engage.
And Tactical doing a good job there, getting as much damage as possible. He's stuck in a spot where you're almost guaranteed to die, but he does enough damage to the health bars of the remaining FlyQuest players that it sets him up here. Palafox trying to do what he can to get away, but just not in the cards there on that one. And now Team Liquid have a 5k gold lead. They're on that soul point. One more Drake will give them the soul. Alfari finding some good damage on Palafox here. Jensen getting one of those shockwaves to try to keep him locked down, but a Kali Smoke, one of the best defensive tools in all of League of Legends. So difficult to ever kill this champion when that ability is available. But considering Palafox now has no ulti, has half HP, is not in any condition to take a fight, and he's the one person on the enemy team who is strong enough to carry one, it means Team Liquid's not afraid to go in and start up the Baron. They switch their aggro immediately over to FlyQuest when they come to check. Licorice is dead, and now it's 5v4 here on the map. Palafox trying to stay nearby to participate in the fight. He's still not full HP, still no ulti. No flash either. That one's about to be ready. The Team Liquid with control over this Baron pit, feeling plenty comfortable to finish this one up. Turret destroyed there in mid lane. They finally get the tier 1. Jose Diodo looking to maybe go for a hero play. Core JJ wants to stun him up there with the Pharomancy. Jensen trying to cut him off. Alfari chasing him away from the Baron pit. They do not want to allow any sort of a 50-50 here. Crumbs, Jensen, Alfari, and Core JJ are all trying to stop Jose. He gets away with the onslaught of shadows, but that's not the point, and it never was. Baron was the focus here, and it goes over to Team Liquid.
I love how Core JJ and Alfari were just chasing Jose around, because we've seen what he can do. Second game in LCS, he stole a Baron with a Lilia Q. You know he's going to do it again with a Hecarim ultimate. You don't let him get in. There's no other way for FlyQuest to win the game, and you cannot lose a fight at this stage. So all you had to do is just make sure that the steal doesn't happen. You do it quickly enough, and now you can even get an Infernal Dragon Soul. That is huge for Team Liquid. That's going to make that poke on the Nidalee and the Orianna just insane with the Rift Maker.
There it goes. Infernal Soul for Team Liquid will not be contested by the side of FlyQuest. They're 6,000 gold down. They don't want to fight their opponents in open ground right now. It feels like a suicide mission, and it feels that way because it is. Santorin will be left in the pit to secure this one all on his lonesome. Your Red Bull Baron buff still got 2 minutes on it, Crumbs, and that's 2 minutes of big-time map pressure here for Team Liquid. Palafox, the one to keep your eyes on in terms of players in a FlyQuest jersey. This is the one man that might be able to pull off a miracle in one of these team fights, but man, everything has to go perfect if they want to find success.
There's 4 people here with the Renekton real close in the mid lane. I'm thinking Team Liquid wants to go for a dive. We've seen what they go for every single time Cord has his flash up, but they'll likely wait for an opportunity to see somebody caught by themselves. That's what usually triggers them to go for a dive, is seeing that they have a numbers advantage that they can quickly capitalize on. Rel going in with the Orianna is a nasty combo, and we've yet to see it yet, so it could actually go for a really clean wipe if they pull it off when Fly is clumped up like this.
They've got free firing time on this bottom lane tier 3. Jose Dioto using that devastating charge, looking for a chance to go in, but Team Liquid's not going to give him one. Palafox down to half. Alfari trying to follow it up, grab a little bit more damage here. Palafox getting himself away, having to use the ultis. Licorice does not have the same kinds of escape tools in his kit, and the big man is down yet again in this game. What is that? 8 deaths for Licorice's Gragas here in game number 2 against Team Liquid. He is struggling in this one. Santorin's in the back line grabbing a kill, using the Zonias to keep himself alive after it. Now Jose Dioto's on the run. Johnson's trying to get away. Alfari takes a quick shower and the fountain laser, and a man still standing. Johnson and Palafox still left alive. Palafox jumping in, uses the stasis to buy some time, but that time will not last, my friends. Team Liquid, they kill 4, they break into the base, they've got the minions underneath the Nexus turrets. Everyone's just throwing their bodies into the fountain now for some reason, and this should be game. Licorice back alive, but it's him and Johnson in a 2v4 as Team Liquid look to end this series 2-0 and move on to the semifinals next week. Alfari gets hit with the belly flop, knocked back a little bit here. Team Liquid still looking to maybe end the game, but had the stats first. Licorice wants to escape. He doesn't want death number 9. Team Liquid really want to hand it to him, though. Johnson keeps himself alive, and Core JJ ends up falling. Johnson dies on the back end of that fight there. Tactical still somehow staying alive through this one, but that is it. A shutdown on Tactical doesn't mean a thing. It's 12-20. It's a win for Team Liquid, and they will take this series 2-0.
Padding the stats on the Nexus, showing off to the rest of the world what they can do. And there was one player, though, that we always say, oh, it's Santorin, a KDA player. He's diving into the fountain, so that you say, oh, he's not a KDA player. He definitely plays and does the same thing with his team, having some fun. And now we get to see Team Liquid versus Evil Geniuses.
Yep.
I'm hyped, Flowers. That's a best of 5.
Our 2 semifinals will actually be incredible next week, because we've got 100 Thieves versus Cloud9, and then we've got Liquid versus EG. So this tournament is shaping up to have a really climactic finale here. I think those best of 5s are going to be fantastic. And Team Liquid definitely doing some limit testing here today in both of their games, but also showing up and showing that they're just a cut above. This squad works together as a unit. They get things done. And even though the early game was looking closer than it was last time, at one point FlyQuest did actually have a gold lead in this game after they got that first turret there in the bottom lane. But they did not have enough to be able to take down TL. I am looking forward to seeing more out of FlyQuest once we get into the regular split, especially now that they'll have more time to practice with Jose Dioto. Clearly, the man's got some skills in League of Legends, and I want to see just how high they can climb with this roster.
Not just him, but all the players that are coming in from Academy that maybe have not gotten such a chance, that have been picked up for these rosters, I think can be really thrilling. Even somebody like Johnson, Diamond, bottom lane, how much growth could we see in a year out of them? Just last year, Johnson's alone on Dignitas was massive. Another one here on the new team, finding their own groove. This is one of the teams that I think a lot of players and a lot of analysts, coaches, everyone's thinking, they might be a lot better than people think, and the fact that they got this far, I think, just shows you, hey, there's something to them.
Well, it's time for us to head to a break right now, but once we're back from the break, we're going to be hearing from Team Liquid Santorin for more on their win over FlyQuest. Don't y'all go anywhere.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Lock-In Tournament, as I am here with Santorin after a swift 2-0 series victory over their opponents today, FlyQuest. Santorin, first and foremost, though, welcome back stateside. Good to see you here after missing you in the first week of play. And my first question is attached to just that. How does it feel to be out there on the Rift playing with the full squad?
Oh, it feels amazing. Watching week one from home is kind of weird, and I'm still in quarantine actually, so I haven't even got to see my team yet. So I'm really excited for the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so we're warming into it. Step one was get to play on the Rift with them. Step two is maybe get to see them in person. But along with you being one of the big additions to Team Liquid in the offseason, there was, of course, another big pickup in Alfari. And when looking at all of those offseason moves, people are looking at TL and saying, my goodness, 2 stellar players got added to an already stellar lineup. And so expectations through the roof before you've ever played a game. What's that like? Are you guys feeling the extra pressure? And how do you ultimately deal with that when people will look at anything other than first as a failure?
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of a different environment from when I played on FlyQuest. We're kind of always expected to lose. So there's some pressure that I got to deal with. It's not something I haven't had in the past, like especially on TSM. So I think all 5 players are really comfortable with the pressure. So I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Fair enough. I mean, you did have a hot start today with the 2-0, although it wasn't the cleanest, and we were kind of joking about some of that behind the scenes there, making it interesting for the fans at home. But what has been your experience with the Lock-In Tournament so far? You're a guy with a very storied history in professional league, but this is a different way to kick off the year.
I really like it, actually. I mean, first of all, I didn't have my visa, so I didn't even get to play. So it kind of sucked if the tournament started and the matches counted. But I feel like it just gives teams time to gel and kind of figure out your first how you want to play as a team, but also figure out new compositions you want to play, draft. There's a lot of things you can learn because the games, they matter, but they don't matter in the broader picture. So I think that's really good for teams.
It also allows for some of those mistakes to happen on stage, move past them, learn from them, grow from them pretty easily. Within that conversation, you're moving right along to the next stage. Best of 5 now, playing against Evil Geniuses. Ooh. What's interesting to me about this matchup is the fact that we split the teams into 2 groups to begin with. So there's been a lot of talk about which group is ultimately stronger. People think that TL 100 Thieves are definite favorites, but EG being the one big conversation point in Group B. When you look at that matchup, how do you feel about it? You got Svenskeren specifically in the jungle matchup, but a very stacked lineup for them as a whole.
Yeah, I think EG has a really strong roster, and I kind of see EG kind of like FlyQuest was last year. Mid jungle, always playing around mid. So I'm really excited to kind of play the other side of that and see how it feels. I'm also really good friends with Igna, and I think Igna is really great player. And then also playing against Svenskeren has always been really exciting to me. We're both Danish junglers. We've been playing in NA for so long, so I'm always stoked for that matchup.
I love to see that camaraderie across the league. Final question to you here, just again back onto the Team Liquid lineup with how stellar of individual cast of players you have. Some might even say that there's an issue of having too many tools in the toolkit, right? And ending up not choosing a specific playstyle. For you as a jungler, when you have such strong options, how do you feel that, kind of changes the way you approach the game when it seems like you can win through anywhere?
Honestly, it's amazing. There's definitely some adaptations I have to do as a jungler because you have so many options. So it's definitely easier as a jungler playing with better laners, obviously. But there's still a lot of things you have to do as a jungler to make the laners kind of use their advantage to snowball the game. So for me, I'm just really excited for this year. In terms of having too many tools, I think we are all very open to kind of taking a step back and let other people carry. And I feel like we're really good at understanding how each other wants to play. So I think it's going to be a really good year for us.
Love to hear it. Well, again, Santorin, ecstatic to have you back here in the U.S. with us and back out onto the stage. We are going to toss it from here over to the Bud Light breakdown to break down the rest of that Team Liquid victory. Santorin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dash. And Santorin, it's so great to have him back in North America alongside a lot of the other players that have been filtering in. We are here for the Bud Light breakdown following that overall series victory for Team Liquid. And I think fans would say it was a pretty scrappy game, Mark. We did get to see the Rel come through and that bot lane potential to kick things off on the TL side.
Yeah, I mean, this game was back and forth, a lot of action throughout the entire thing. It once again felt like it got started off because of the bot lane. Just such aggression out of court, JJ and Tactical. And you just feel bad for Johnson, man. He's got picked on a lot today. I think someone needs to go buy him an ice cream or something, make him feel better.
Ice cream's good. I'm happy
It's
with
pretty
ice
rough.
cream.
I mean, their bot lane that they're going up against is obviously incredibly strong. Diamond has one bad roam timing there. They immediately punish. They're so good at finding these windows, these opportunities. But, Johnson and Diamond did fight back somewhat, just barely not able to kill off Tactical here, but they did get Alfari. They make this a 1-for-1 on the TP play. So they were hanging in there for a while. I do think that TL got a little bit fast and loose at times, though, in these games where they created these huge advantages, and you're like, this is a 20-minute game, and Team Liquid's like, I wonder if I can 1v4 here.
That is what it felt like at times. You know that on the side of FlyQuest, they were trying high to bring it through, even the Janna pick being commented upon, but still some moments here that were just a little too shaky.
Right. I don't think FlyQuest should be too worried. I think they're going to be looking good coming into the new season. Like, it's hard to say that they're a bad team, right? Because they're playing against arguably the best team in the league, and how good are you really going to look against the best team in the league, So give them some time. I think they got some newer players here. And once they build some synergy, get some experience, shake off the stage fright, I think they'll start to perform better. I'm looking forward to their bot lane improving. I think they've struggled a lot this series and will continue to struggle. But like I said, they're newer to the LCS and they don't have as many games under the belt as other people. So give them some time to grow, give them a bit of time to get better. And I think they have some hope for the future.
Yeah, I think especially the top side of the map has clear things that they need to improve on in terms of like shot calling at team fights. There'd be time where, Licorice would go in with his body slam, but they wouldn't quite be timed correctly. Then Jose Dioto would all, and it was all just a little disjointed. But at least on a mechanical level, I think, Licorice will be okay. I think Palafox looked decent over the course of this series. He was the one lone bright spot in that last game, kind of, in terms of just making his own plays. Got a shutdown on a very fed Samira and stuff. Like, I was overall impressed by him. So I think if they can solve some of the synergy issues potentially on the top side, and like you were just saying, about making some improvements in the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good point, seeing some of the engages that Licorice was going for, and you wonder, it's like, okay, is that something that he's just been playing with C9 for so long, where they're kind of known for these engages, they're kind of known for, playing really fast pace, and if you play with the same group of people, no matter what game it is, you all kind of know how you start to expect them to react in certain ways in different situations, right? You are comfortable in doing something knowing that, okay, if I go in here, High's going to be with me, or if I peel back, High's going to peel back, or whatever, right? You're on the same page, and when you get traded to a new team, when you're in a new roster, you have to rebuild that understanding of how the different players on your team are going to play, what their instinct is, and when to do what, basically. So I do think it's a bit of a rebuilding process for them. Players from all these different rosters and different organizations and stuff coming together, and it may take some time.
I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders too. I don't know how big of a voice he had when he was back on C9, but there are a lot of talented players on there that I imagine had big voices. Now he comes to FlyQuest. You just got Jose Dioto from where was it, Latin America?
Latin, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Latin, and then you got two newer players in the bot lane and mid lane. So now you're like this veteran on the team. You got to lead all the shot callers. The players aren't necessarily as good right now. So there's a lot of pressure on him. I'm assuming that's why he made those mistakes, and that's why he's going for the plays. He feels like he has to hard carry his team or he's going to lose. And when you have that pressure on your shoulders, you're going to look like an idiot at times, But I can respect what he's doing, and I think that they have a bright road ahead of them.
With this loss of the series, it does mean that FlyQuest are officially eliminated from the lock-in tournament, but that does mean more time to try and build that synergy. These new faces that we're so excited to have here in the LCS, some future plays to come from them as well. As far as looking back at this series, Team Liquid did deliver the Swift 2-0 win, and we have to recognize the player of the series as a result, which, is it a surprise? We got Core JJ here, Mark. I mean, while some moments were a little questionable towards the end, where, as we were saying, a little fast and loose playing, still to the core, a core good player.
Yeah, Core JJ is incredible, and he's definitely the engine for Team Liquid. I mean, there's not many plays happening that don't involve him. And I think that, especially around the bot lane, you saw like early on in the game, he's one of the first people to get on the map and make things happen. So, can't sing enough praises about this guy.
I mean, I think especially game number 1 was Core JJ difference. He was everywhere, making everything happen, just running around the map, setting up and playing around Santorin on that Talia so incredibly well. I think the rel game was solid. It just wasn't as dominant as what we saw in game number 1, but he turned it in an incredible series.
I want to give a shout out to Santorin. I actually voted for him for a player of the series. Unfortunately, he didn't. I got outvoted. It's one of those scenarios where, you know, like when you lose a game, you
None of
blame
us
the
got our
jungler. But when you win the game as jungler, you never get any of the credit. He was always at the right place at the right time. Core JJ wouldn't have gotten those kills had Santorin not been there. So it's kind of like a two-part process. And he's one of the few players on Team Liquid that didn't limit test, in my opinion. So I gotta say, I gotta vote for the person that didn't limit test.
Yeah. Mark and I actually were voting for Alfari. It's another guy that we think, you know,
We're
really
airing all the laundry here.
deserves some
We gotta voted.
some honorable mentions. You know, I think that Alfari also played really well. And to be honest, it's like that's something that's going to happen when a set of games looks this dominant, right? Team Liquid is incredibly talented. There are going to be, you know, a lot of contested votes with a team like this because there is no clear one player who's so much better than the rest anymore. I mean, Core JJ maybe, but to be honest, all of these guys are capable of carrying games and carrying series. And I think as a result, Team Liquid's going to be terrifying.
Tactical, Jensen. I just want to make sure we said their name since we're apparently saying every player here in the player of the series for Team Liquid. But as we wrap things up for us today, let's go ahead and take a look at the semifinals that we have. We'll be powering through those during the next week. After yesterday's results, 100 Thieves and Cloud9 will be kicking things off on Friday. And then, of course, after today, we know that TL will be taking on EG in the second semifinal that is going down on Saturday. Azael, we've talked a bit about 100 T and C9, the bot lanes, the potential there, the clash that we could see in this best of 5.
I think it's going to be incredibly exciting. We got to see 100 Thieves go up against the TL bot lane where they got 2v2 killed at level 1, but then coordinated so well with Closer to actually, you know, steamroll through that game and create a big advantage in the bot lane. I think this is going to be another clash of the Titans down in that bot lane in the 2v2. And to be honest, this is two of the very best teams. I think that these semifinals are looking really, really exciting. A lot of the quarterfinals were much more one-sided, but I expect 100 Thieves C9 to be a banger.
I'm looking forward to EGTL, man. You got the grudge match in the top lane, Impact going up against the guy that he got replaced with, you know, like, especially in a tournament that, like, you know, quote unquote, doesn't have implications or matter quite as much for the regular season. There is the extra best of 5 side selection or best of 1 side selection on your 5th games. But I mean, go for it, Impact. I mean, you play as hard of a carry as you want. You go as lane dominant as you want, you know, like, go all in, please. I want to see him, you know, mad trying to say, like, you made the wrong decision, TL. You wasted all that money. You could have had me again. I'm looking forward to that. As well as, you know, you heard Santorin talking about going up against Ignar.
I don't really see Impact picking Fiora or Camille or Raven or anything. This is that kind of thing.
This is the perfect time. When
he might just
first pick.
He might just bust out the Gragas or the Orange. So I think that matchup might actually be more boring than we anticipate. I'm pretty excited to see Vulcan versus Huhi. Those guys are really great supports. They have highly contested picks between Alistar and Set, and they're always around the map looking for flanks, making plays. It's going to be a real testament. Well, one, I think support is really strong right now. Some might say overpowered, but I'm really excited to see which the better support is out of that because we'll both see them leave bot lane and roam around the map and see who gets to have more fun.
I'm excited. Ain't nothing boring here in Lock-In. Before we close out the day, though, we do have one more manner of business. And to name our MasterCard Player of the Week, let's send things over to Captain Flowers and Crumbs.
All right. Thank you, everybody there on the desk. Let's go ahead and jump right into this one, Mr. Crumbs. You see, for the quarterfinals this weekend, the MasterCard Player of the Week goes to Cloud9 support Vulcan. The man was playing dominantly there in the bottom lane, turning it into even more plays as the games went on. His flanks, his team fighting, everything about the man was impressive.
He was let loose. We heard from one of the Cloud9 coaches, Vega V2, that the Alistar had been released for the TSM series, and we really got to see exactly why this pick is so valuable on the hands of Vulcan. The amount of flanks that this guy is finding on his own to just set up his team was ridiculous. On top of that, they're dominating lane. You saw Core JJ and Tactical today dominating lane. Guess what? Vulcan and Sven have been doing the same thing as well, and I mean, the KDA, it's a support. It's not really what you're interested in. You're interested in the KP right at the very end and all those replay flanks that we just saw.
Man, I am interested in the KDA because so many people, I think, get stuck on just looking at the KD part of it. And when you look at 3 and 10, you're like, oh, well, that's not very impressive. And then you move the whatever you're blocking the last number with out of the way, and you see a 46. This man was part of so much for his team. That bottom number, we're just going to round it up to 75. 75% kill participation over that series. Incredible stuff there from Vulcan, showing everybody how it's done on support. You best be looking back at this guy the next time you're wondering how you carry your own solo queue games from the support role, because I think everybody out there could stand to learn a thing or two from one of the chattest and the baddest in the bottom lane here in the LCS.
And
that does it for us here on the LCS stream today. But if you want to keep the action going, DeMonte from 100 Thieves is going to be joining Kobe, Dash, and the Tigress on the Bud Light League Lounge over at twitch.tv/BudLight. Make sure you join the fun over on there. Now, on behalf of myself, the analysts, the crew, Mr. Crumbs right here beside me, and the entire remote broadcast squad, thank y'all so much for watching. We'll see you later for more LCS. Good night.